Tracking more rounds of thunderstorms across Kentucky on this first alert severe weather day. Some of these are producing heavy rains, heightening our flood concerns. We'll track all of it for you.
A man charged with 43 counts of animal cruelty connected to horses found in Mercer County had his arraignment today.
As Kentuckians keep an eye out on storms and potential flooding, other states have been dealing with high water too. More on the devastating and deadly floods in New Jersey and Maryland.
WKYT News starts now with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon on this Monday. Sam, Dick, and Amber Philpott reporting. It's another day of scattered showers and storms, and those could drop heavy amounts of rain onto the already saturated ground.
Yeah, and for that very reason, we have called a First Alert Severe Weather Day as we keep an eye on flood-prone areas. I want to check in now with meteorologist Jim Caldwell.
And we have certainly been watching heavy rounds of rain work through the area here, guys. Some of us catching a break right now, as you can see with some of our cams here, but we'll likely go into more rain as we head through the rest of the evening here. You can see some of the steam there coming off of the mountains in Jackson, so in southeastern Kentucky, where they've been dealing with a big wall of water coming at them. Now catching somewhat of a break, at least temporarily. Same thing here in Lexington. We're just tracking the clouds, but more thunderstorms are certainly out there. There you see our Defender radar network and the swath of the heaviest rain, more widespread, stretching from southern Ohio all the way back to Somerset at this point. Kind of bows out altogether, with another complex starting to roll up the BG Parkway, headed right into central Kentucky here, with more lightning and more heavy rain potential here. One active flash flood warning out to our east into parts of Lawrence County at this point. You can see it's a pretty small warning, but just the fact that they have one and there's not even a watch. So that just shows you that we certainly have the potential to run into high water issues out there here this evening, even though we don't have a watch. More rounds of showers and thunderstorms will be coming. So West Liberty into Paintsville catching the lighter ends of this rain now, and then back toward Jackson into Hazard with more of those heavy thunderstorms. Flash flood threat through the rest of the night. As far as any new areas, the greatest risk will be essentially here in parts of Lexington and back toward the south and east. This rain will wrap up soon, so the flash flood threat will go down to more of an isolated risk, but the best risk showing up to our south and even into parts of central Kentucky as well, guys. We'll track all of this with our hour-by-hour run, showing you exactly where these storms are going, coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Jim, thank you. The father of a well-known horse trader will answer to animal cruelty charges this afternoon.
Charles Burrell faces more than 40 counts after horses were found abandoned on a farm he leased in Mercer County. His daughter, Maria Burrell, faces the same charges. WKYT's Victor Puente has more from Harrodsburg.
Chuck Burrell didn't appear in court today, and his attorney didn't say why he wasn't here, but he did enter a not guilty plea on his behalf. Burrell is facing 43 counts of second-degree animal cruelty because of horses that were discovered by Mercer County Sheriff's deputies near the beginning of June. They say the animals were being kept at a farm on Martin Lane that was leased by a company owned by Chuck Burrell. His daughter, Maria Burrell, is a well-known horse trainer and was listed as the manager of that farm. State veterinarians charged Burrell about a month later. His daughter is facing the same charges. At today's arraignment, Burrell's attorney, Larry Catlett, entered a not guilty plea for him. Deputies say the thoroughbreds were in varying degrees of neglect, with some of them close to starving. Those horses are now being cared for by volunteers. Those volunteers say they hope Burrell never owns another horse.
I will be satisfied with nothing less than Maria Burrell spending some time in jail, fines, never owning another animal in the state of Kentucky or otherwise, never being allowed back in the racing industry, and see that every horse is removed permanently from her ownership.
Maria Burrell still hasn't been arrested on the charges she's facing. After the hearing, we asked Larry Catlett why Chuck Burrell wasn't in court today. He walked away from us briskly and told us to go away. In Mercer County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Donations for the care of the horses are being accepted at Southern States in Harrodsburg. There's been an increase in the number of children going into the state's foster care system, and Cabinet for Health and Family Services officials say the increase has a direct connection to the state's drug epidemic. In 60% of foster care cases investigated by the Cabinet, drugs are a factor.
From cradle to grave, we are the service provider for the state, for many of the state's most vulnerable citizens, how we can harness and leverage what we are able to do for families and lift them out of their circumstance. I think it just fuels us to get this right so we don't see as many families in crisis.
Tonight on WKYT News at 6, we sit down with the people in charge of the state's foster children to get answers about dealing with children in state custody because of drugs. Amber's at the live desk now with our investigative reporter Miranda Combs with more on this story that she's working on for tonight. Amber?
Sam, thank you. It seems the number of children going into the system appears to be on a very noticeable increase.
You're talking about 2012, there were 6,934 kids in the state's care, and now there are 8,056. That's a drastic increase when you're talking about just a few years, and it all can be related, as these officials tell us, back to the drug epidemic.
Wow. So now it's a big problem for Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and they're trying to tackle this growing problem.
Right, and the word holistic came up a lot during our interviews, not just looking at the children, but also looking at the families that they're coming from to try to deal with this problem. They talk about needing more treatment options, more substance abuse treatment care, as we've tackled a lot in a lot of our stories. So they're trying to look at this from a big picture. Also looking at different cabinets. The Justice Cabinet as well can play a role in this as well, because so many parents are also ending up in jail because of the drug epidemic.
And the Deputy Secretary of the Cabinet has firsthand knowledge of the drug problem in the state.
And this was interesting. He was a family court judge for 11 years in Oldham County, so he's seen it all the way back to the meth labs, then into the heroin epidemic. So he's seen all ranges and talked a lot about what he saw when he was in family court and how to deal with these children, whether to take them out of the custody or to keep them with the parents. So very interesting look at this, and he's got a lot of background, and that whole cabinet has a lot of thoughts on how to move forward.
Sounds like a lot of folks trying to work together to find an answer to this problem. That story coming up tonight from Miranda at 6. Sam?
Federal investigators are searching for clues following the worst hot air balloon disaster in U.S. history. 16 people died in Texas Saturday when the balloon apparently hit a power line near Lockhart, which is 20 miles south of Austin, before bursting into flames and falling to the ground. Investigators are meeting with the balloon's ground crew today. Authorities have not released the names of those who died, but some family members say they've been notified that their loved ones were aboard the balloon. Officials in Maryland say that repairing damage from the weekend flooding will cost millions and millions of dollars. More rain could be on the way, according to the National Weather Service. This as the area still tries to recover from the high water that already hit. Reed Binion reports.
It's just devastating. It's very sad.
Maryland residents reeling from the shock of deadly flash flooding that hit the area Saturday. Cars swept away as streets became rivers in Ellicott City. A month's worth of rain falling in just 2 hours.
Within 5 minutes, it was panic, and my friend was pulling someone out of there, and I've never seen anything like it.
Officials say the flooding destroyed or damaged at least 25 buildings and, worst of all, proved deadly.
One victim was washed away as a pedestrian. The second person was in an automobile with another person. One was able to go to safety, and the other one, unfortunately, was carried downstream.
In the wake of the flooding, Governor Larry Hogan says the tragedy and chaos also inspired bravery and compassion.
It was shocking and devastating, but what was incredible, that was the bad side of it, seeing the terrible devastation. The good side was watching some really heroic rescues and seeing the first responders and just the neighbors that were helping each other out of the cars as they were floating by.
One of those heroic efforts caught on video as a group of people formed a human chain to reach a woman stranded in her car. The storm's devastation leaving residents grateful that they are able to begin the long process of cleanup and rebuilding.
All I can say is, you know what, I'm just happy I'm alive.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan toured the damaged area on Sunday. He declared a state of emergency, which will allow greater coordination and assistance.
Believe it or not, some Kentucky students returned to the classroom this morning. Frankfort Independent Schools are now back in session. For many students, there isn't much summer left. Several area districts, including Fayette County, return next week. We have a complete list of school start dates for you on WKYT.com.
The day Harry Potter fans have eagerly awaited finally has come. Another page-turner is here. That's ahead on WKYT News at 4:30.
Thunderstorms have been rolling through the area for much of the day now, especially as we got into the afternoon and evening hours. It's been pretty soggy for a lot of folks out there, and we are still tracking that large mass of precipitation. The first one that rolled through is hanging out in eastern Kentucky. We'll track it in a moment as it's almost out of here. But first, we're watching a couple of thunderstorms that fired up. They're a little more on the strong side along the BG Parkway. One of them hanging out as well down around Springfield with loads of lightning with it. And guess where these are headed? Off toward the east. And as they do, they'll be right back into the thick of it here in central portions of Kentucky. And rather intense as well. You can see that these are towering, probably the highest ones and the most intense activity that we have anywhere in Kentucky at this point. A lot of them have weakened and are just general good rain makers that have been moving across southern and eastern Kentucky. Another one that we've been tracking that has a little more lightning and a little more intense as well is the one passing through parts of Pulaski and Rockcastle County at this time. And it's also shifted into northern Laurel County too. You can see some of that heavy rain and the lightning working its way in. Let's head east along the Hal Rogers Parkway where we're tracking that rain in between London into Manchester and off into Hyden as well. Plenty of heavy rain falling along the Hal Rogers right now. Up toward the east from Lawrence County back into Pike County, Floyd County, covered up with just good plain old soaking rains. Problem is, this is an area that has been soaked for days now. And with more heavy rain moving through today, more likely again tomorrow, that flood threat will remain heightened. You can see an area also shaded there in Lawrence County for a flash flood warning. That runs all the way until 7:15 tonight. So some of the headlines here, we're going to be tracking storm clusters over the next few days. Each storm cluster that enters the area will have the potential to bring more heavy rains, and just plain old ignore any heat hype out there because the thunderstorms that we have are going to really beat down that heat over the next few days here. So it's not going to be quite as intense. It'll get sticky for a little while and then the heat will back off. Here comes that next little batch of thunderstorm activity. We're tracking just to our west here in Lexington, so you see it getting in here later on this evening into the nighttime period. Then that will continue working its way into eastern Kentucky. Another complex that's well off to our west, closer to Paducah, starts showing up, and then will eventually work into southern parts of Kentucky and even tries to make a run central Kentucky as well into the early morning hours, at least in some form. So very active out there through the rest of the evening, and there you see our 7-day forecast, which well, we can throw the word active in there again as well because it is active from one end to the other. Obviously a few days this week chances go down a little bit, but especially through Wednesday that's going to be our first best chance, and then toward the end of the week as well, guys.
Well, we have seen how just a few inches of rain on ground that's already soaked turns these creeks into rivers.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bad.
Flowing quickly too, so it can get that way in a hurry, especially when you keep getting chances each day, guys.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Okay.
They're the best of the best in modeling and talent. I'm Deanne Stevens, out and about with this group from Images Model and Talent Agency. We'll explain why when we return here on WKYT.
A group from Kentucky just returned from strutting their stuff in New York City.
They are part of the Images Modeling and Talent Agency out of Lexington. Our Deanne Stevens is out and about with how you can get in on all the fun. Hi, Deanne.
Primrose Everdeen.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. We are at Images Model and Talent Agency, where these fine folks just returned from IMTA, New York City, with all kinds of accolades. Janie Head is with us. What is IMTA?
IMTA is the International Modeling and Talent Association, made up of schools and agencies throughout the world, actually. There was one from Finland, China, South Africa.
And this is just part of the group that came back. They got first runner-up for this.
For the team fashion, and this is a Hunger Games theme. And we were just so excited because we practiced so hard, and we had the hunters type costumes, those of you that know Hunger Games, and then the city people, and it was just well, it all came together beautifully.
Hey, Emma, step down here, just so I don't look so short. I had to grab Emma because she came home with some fantastic. I'm almost I'm almost a little bit scared to introduce her because what is it that you won when you were in New York City?
I won the on-air TV host award.
No, don't be applying for my job anytime soon. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Talk about your trip there and how exciting it is, because this is an opportunity for all of you all to be like discovered, right?
Exactly. It is overwhelming because you're there and there are all these tall, beautiful people and all of these talented people, and at first you're really scared and intimidated, and then you meet some of them and you like make good friends and you're all getting really hype and excited together because you're in New York City and you're meeting agents and you're just one step closer to your dream, and that's so exciting.
Well, you as well as Skylar, you've got Carson and all these kiddos who came back. Tell us what you came back with.
I came back with many awards. One of my favorite and my best one was top 10 honorable mention for Actor of the Year.
Wow, so where do you want to go from here?
I'd love to be acting in film and TV.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think they are well on their way. You could be well on your way as well if you're sitting at home and watching, you or your child, because coming up at the end of August, Images is offering what?
We're having open auditions for the International Modeling Talent Association Los Angeles trip. Wow. August the 27th, and all you have to do is call Images to set up an appointment, 273-2301, and it's free.
Pretty cool thing that they're doing. Come on, Carson. Here, I want you to help me out. Come on, everybody come in here.
Okay.
All right, this is simple. I'm going to let you have my job for just a minute, okay? Say, back to you guys.
Back to you guys.
That was a piece of cake for them.
Those were so cute.
Talented
kids.
people.
Yeah, such cute kids.
The latest installment in the Harry Potter book series by J.K. Rowling is here.
It is. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is the script to a sold-out London play, which takes place 19 years after the last book. The previous book in the series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, released in 2007. At Joseph Beth Booksellers here in Lexington, more than 450 people pre-ordered the book, with several hundreds more purchasing the book at midnight at a release yesterday.
They had just come from their wedding. She was in a wedding dress. He was in his tux. She had pre-ordered the book, and she absolutely had to have the book before they went on their honeymoon. So we actually worked it out to where we could get them the book so that we could send them on their way. It was a really cool moment.
Even if you didn't pre-order the latest copy of the book, Joseph Beth says the store still has plenty for sale. The latest Harry Potter book has already become the top-selling book of 2016 on Amazon.com.
A Texas toddler is showing thanks to the police officer who saved her life by hosting a tea party for two. For people living in low-lying areas who are prone to flooding, we really need to continue to watch what's happening out there.
Yeah, Jim, we are back in this pattern again of where storms and lots of heavy rain could come with it. Puts us right back in the same place we were last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very familiar place, guys, that we've been in, and we're going to hang around in it for the next few days as well. Not only with today's weather, but you can see another little shower thunderstorm going up here in Lexington as well. We're at 85 degrees, feels like temperature is 91, but that rain is back in town, and it is certainly going to change things up again for us. Here's what it looks like on our Defender Radar network. You can see it stretches all the way back toward the downtown area, around Commonwealth Stadium, back out toward the mall, and then works its way back to the Hamburg area as well. One little pocket of heavier rain just kind of has blown up over the past few minutes here. Area-wide across central and eastern Kentucky, we're tracking another batch right here. This one will also sweep through. All of these, by the way, heavy rain producers, and will keep that flood threat on the higher side as we continue to move forward here.
Live look at Lexington rush hour traffic. It looks like they're about to clear the collision. The police are working at Versailles Road and Village, so we're okay there now, just to let you know. On drive times this afternoon to Nicholasville is about 12 minutes, Georgetown 16, and we're still looking at 24 on 64 for Winchester. Now back to you in the studio.
Officer Don, thank you. Thousands participate in a Mudderella challenge, a tea party for two, and a terrifying jump. It's the video that will have you talking. Take a look at this.
Hot temperatures didn't deter thousands of women from taking on a major challenge in New Hampshire this weekend. Nearly 5,000 women from all over New England took part in the Mudderella, a version of the famous Tough Mudder event geared towards women. Some in tutus, other in pink angel wings, all of them ready for the challenge. The event takes teams on a 5-mile course with 14 obstacles along the way, many of which involve crawling, rolling, and sliding through mud. The Mudderella event began in 2013.
It is a viral story that's likely to cheer you up on this Monday afternoon. A Texas toddler held a tea party with a police officer over the weekend to thank him for saving her life. Wearing his full uniform, Corporal Patrick Ray sat down in a tiny chair at a tiny table and enjoyed the party with Bexley Norvell. Ray saved the 2-year-old's life a year ago when she choked on a coin at her home there. To mark that day, Bexley's mother decided on a photo shoot in the theme of a tea party. Well, during the photo shoot, the two unlikely friends shared Apple Jacks and Oreos because, of course, that's what you have at a tea party. But that is so sweet.
First time I saw that picture, I was like, wow, that's great. This is not your everyday skydive, folks. The guy that did this did it without a parachute. 42-year-old professional stuntman Luke Akins figured he'd be fine free falling for more than 4.5 miles, so long as he landed on his safety net. Back on Earth, he was greeted with a hug from his wife. Shortly after the successful free fall, he posted images on Facebook writing, "My vision was always proper preparation, and that if you train right, you can make anything happen." You know that I wouldn't even do that with a parachute, probably.
Well, my worst fear is the parachute won't come out as it's supposed to, let alone not even having one.
Yeah, so then, and do you have a net to hit?
Yeah.
All right.
On that note, stick with us. Here's what we're working on for you now at 5 o'clock.